Hey there, I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and yeah, we got another future episode, and it's Billboard BREAKDOwn.
I don't remember.
You know, thinking back on it, maybe I was a little too hard on the influx of haphazard contradictions that encompassed the American Patriotism 4th of July playlist last week. Apologies with opening with politics and keeping it a bit too real on the chart-watching show, but if folks aren't paying attention to the background playlist of some cookout or kickback, some of my commentary may come across as sneering or dismissive. I can recognize how my energy reads. Now, granted, I could highlight that Canadians have earned a certain animosity towards the United States government, which as of yesterday is trying to rewrite trade agreements they themselves signed in the first place, alongside threats of annexation, and I've got a long-running issue with the blithely casual and cavalier, be it in the consumption of art or how you vote given the consequences on so much of the world at large, that maybe a little bit more sober thought would help, but not everyone is going to carry that level of intensity all the time, and for many, art is just entertainment. I gotta be the one to meet you there and gently prompt you to go deeper, because I genuinely believe that y'all have the capacity to make a difference, or at least better choices. I mean, you're watching this show. And give a little bit of grace if you want to make the subjectively bad choices. Hey, I make those too. And you know, I might not even blame you for seeking out some quality or variety in different sources, especially if it's on a holiday. Because the Hot 100 in 2026 has been goddamn dismal. And given how much popular music in the mainstream has failed to meet the moment this summer, others are finally picking up on that. It's not just me saying it at this point. Want proof? Look at our top 10 and Choosing Texas by Ella Langley comfortably at number 1, because what the hell else is there even there to beat it? This is going to challenge We Belong Together by Mariah Carey for among the biggest number 1 songs by a woman since the year 2000. And even knowing that Ella Langley is bigger than she's given credit by a lot of pop fans, that feels insane to me. And yet, still dominant on sales and streaming. Nobody even seems to be really trying to compete at this point. Even Taylor Swift with I Knew It, I Knew You at number 2, which might have slightly better radio but weaker sales and far worse streaming. Maybe that's why Nashville hasn't really bothered to give Be Her by Ella Langley a proper push, so it's stuck at number 3 with the radio just collapsing. Streaming is good enough that if they tried to push a crossover to pop, they might risk some brand dilution from a better song, which is cynical as all hell and probably detrimental to Ella Langley's career long term, but I see the lazy logic there, I guess. Maybe Ariana Grande can make enough of a move with Hate That I Made You Love Me rising up to number 4 with a nice streaming recovery, but the radio growth has been a little bit slapdash. It is a steep margin to climb. It did leapfrog over Dracula by Tame Impala and Jenny at number 5, but it actually had a decent week in all channels. I think its lack of gains can be pegged more to losses above it. More on that in a little bit. What depresses me is our big new insurgent into the top 10, Boston by Stella Lefty at number 6. The streaming is up huge and she's got the radio, and despite me thinking that this Nepo baby pop folk is basic as all hell, see also the likelihood of Gracie Abrams not even getting an album bomb next week, the expanded release of her EP has seen some tangible mainstream traction. I don't think folks are getting past her just yet. It was also enough to knock back I Can't Love You Anymore by Ella Langley and Morgan Wallen down to number 7, which was that loss I was mentioning, and actually also had a good week across the board, but it's not enough to really compete on the margins when you're not shipping it to pop radio. I've given up on Be Her being an obvious mistake. This one is coming from 2 camps and more obviously glaring. Then we got a slight rebound for a few songs from Olivia Dean, with Man I Need riding the streaming bounce to number 8, and So Easy to Fall in Love holding the top spot on the radio at least long enough to compensate, just enough to unseat I Just Might by Bruno Mars sliding down to number 10, as it looks like it's finally on its way out with the radio in decline, and that's really all it has. And that naturally takes us to our losers and dropouts, where amidst the 4th of July entries naturally exiting, in the latter group we also have 3 songs that I don't like that have probably clinched their year-end list spots for 2026, and yet I should be celebrating that they are gone here. Sleepless in a Hotel Room by Luke Combs is probably the best of them, but then we got Change My Mind by Riley Green, and White Keys by Dominic Fike, throw in Bottom of My Boots by Ella Langley, and Turn This Truck Around by Jordan Davis for good measure. Those 2 aren't that bad though. The problem I have is what's coming up that's likely going to replace them, and that list is thin indeed. We'll get to it. But before going there, our losers are largely Olivia Rodrigo and the rest. Let's start with her again. Maggots for Brains at 60, What's Wrong With Me featuring Robert Smith of The Cure at 78, My Way at 85, Begged at 90, and You Plus Me Equals Love at 91. Then we got Swim by BTS handily clinching its year-end list spot at 100, and a couple Drake songs for good measure with Whisper My Name at 82 and National Treasures at 88. The rest hit the wall by Gracie Abrams at 57. She's gonna rebound next week, but perhaps a little bit less than some might think. Again, the streaming margins here are not good for whatever album bomb could come. Motion Party by Bossman D-Lo at 68. I don't get the appeal of this guy. It'll probably just clinch its year-end list spot. Iconic by Mistake by Le Seraphim, Islet, and Cat's Eye at 71. And Damned If I Do by Vincent Mason, thankfully failing to launch at 96. So okay, what's replacing all this? Well, in the returns, there's not much of anything. Wonderwall by Oasis roared back to 27 because of England's run with the World Cup, and that's the only song a lot of folks outside of the UK know from Oasis. Radio by Future is back to 46 because of the album bomb, and then we got some rough stragglers at the very bottom, like Bloodstream by Alyssa Grace at 86, or Think As You Drunk by Riley Green at 94. What an awkward song title. And then we got a decent number of gains here. I just wish I was remotely convinced of any quality. Sure, I can explain Die Die by Shakira and Burna Boy at 42 because of the World Cup, and apparently if we're gonna make Stella Lefty a thing, Something to Lose with Vincent Mason jumping up to 45, I guess that makes sense. And I'm also not saying there's not quality. I don't love Orbiter by Noah Kahn at 41, but I'll absolutely ride for Doors surging up to 51, and Bella K dropping her full-length debut album probably saw I Love It, I Love It, I Love It jump up to 53. Y'all should check out that debut. It's the darker side of the coin to Olivia Rodrigo, where I can describe it as 90s gnarly, and that not be a reference to Cat's Eye. But whatever's left here, if the best is Rein Me In by Sam Fender and Olivia Dean at 80, followed by Phone Keys Wallet by Lainey Wilson and John Mayer at 74, and the big debuts from last week that are seeing traction are Great Expectation by Sienna Spiro at 69, and Misery by Pupsies at 62. Y'all see what I mean with my concerns for what's coming up for the rest of the summer, right? It's not promising. But really, it's hard to fully gauge any of this because in the wake of the 4th of July songs exiting, we have our future album bomb to contend with, which is absolutely in large album bomb territory, but also happens to be all beneath the top 20, which makes my life considerably easier. Now, I've already reviewed the project exclusively for patrons and high-level YouTube members at the moment. The review is in my Discord. Love to see some of you jump over there if you want to see said review. But the short version is that it's a fragmented tease of a lot more potential, and somehow I wound up disappointed with Future, which naturally means that a couple songs I liked from the back end of the project didn't chart at all, while all the bad songs did. So I'll cover enough to accommodate my best and worst, give you just enough of a sample there, keep things brief, and the rest, Eye to Eye at 98, Off the Hinge at 76, Money Over Everything at 64, Build a Bitch at 58, Trenchcoat at 52, Wait Up at 48, Snow and Skyami at 38, Tank Top Pluto at 37, 1-2 at 33, Konnichiwa at 29, very nearly among the worst of this week, and Fukk an Interview at 28. No features to call out or mention here, there were none on the album, and that really winds up a problem with the project. Again, please check out my review if you want me to explain why. But now on to the future songs that I actually am gonna cover in our new arrivals. Kind of a short list. Number 97, Kick by Future.
Everybody pay a kick, yeah. My pill just kicked in. You my pill kicked in. Hey, my pill just kicked in. So the kick, 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 kick. Hey, my pill just kicked in. My pill just kicked in. You my pill kicked in. Hey, my pill just kicked in.
Okay, someone needs to tell the stream trolling rappers that have a shot of actually charting to space out their pop-leaning cuts that actually have quality and hooks across their track list. Because for some ungodly reason, this charted and not Hollywood or Alice. And it's probably one of the worst things Future has released in some time. My guess is that most folks heard this and bailed immediately from the album. I can't blame them, only swinging back around to Eye because of that old Warzone flip, but everything wrong with the real me is present on this song. The tinny squeal passing badly as a melody behind the hook and the lumbering and clumsily mastered trap beat, it's dreadful, where I kept hoping that Future would stick with the darker keys, but he kept going back to it, and Future sounds narcotized on the hook. He says his pill kicked in, and for once I actually believe him. And who really even cares about the content here? It's stock even by Future standards, with the most notable line coming on what I guess they're calling the bridge, "I just ran my routes." I mean, he said it twice. If by that you mean just going through the motions, I agree. And this is garbage. Number 93, If I Could by Future.
I was from out the feds, out the pen. Red medallions for the blood that was shed. Nigga getting tricked out, drinking it like it's red. Nigga blitzed out and put that boy to bed. If I can rule the universe, rat shouldn't live. I used to dream past the hood, Beverly Hills. I love my girl, it's hard to tell her how I feel.
Conversely, this is the Future song that best reflected the potential set up with this album and radio as a single. And for so much of this track, he starts getting close. This is the song where Future realizes that he has to step up his game, as his sons want to follow in his footsteps, but he wants them to finish school. Where he's trying to support his exes, but they blow through all the money he gives them with their friends and then come asking for more. Where he is desperately trying to find someone to commit to long term, where he can actually open up and trust them and they might actually listen to him. But well, see the rest of this Future album for all the results of that. And the most compelling sentiment I would put on the hook, that actually opening up and telling his friends, family, and partner how he feels is the most difficult for him, especially given the expectations that are placed upon him, externally or internally. If only he followed up on actually exploring that instead of a lot of weak musings about wanting to rule the universe, because a truly introspective and vulnerable Future project in maybe like a 444 vein, that could cement his legacy. I genuinely believe that. The rest of the song outside of the content, I'm not going to say is the best. The synths and the fluttery keyboards are fine, but the buzzy bass and the leaden trap percussion could be a little bit better mastered. But man, the rest of the song is really damn good. What might have been? Number 83, 2018 by Future.
Posted on the block with a rusty 380. You acting good, get a brand new Mercedes. Beating on the pot, smashing on your old lady. And she going both ways, so she going crazy. Hitting in the car, your bitch try to rape me. Drop the location, think she trying to snitch on me.
Okay, I know why people like this. It's called 2018. It's a direct reference to his verse on King's Dead from J-Rock and that goofy, high-pitched voice that he made. It's a meme. It's supposed to be funny. So this is Future trying to get in on that joke for nearly 4 minutes against a painfully bare-bones trap beat, and suddenly a joke I didn't even find funny at the time becomes an extended migraine. You do realize folks were laughing at you, Future, not with you, and thus sticking with this delivery for one of the longest songs on the album that doesn't even have a hook sounds like you're completely out of ideas and thus are borrowing one of Drake's worst tricks. What's gone overlooked is that much of what Future's actually saying with that voice also sucks here. Saying that he'd hit your bitch in his car if she tried to rape him, where he's dropping a location in case she tries to snitch. Why do I feel like Future is absolutely the wrong person to handle this subject matter alongside the brand name porn and the guns, and especially with this delivery? Also with the line about hitting a woman with a Louisville Slugger, which is a baseball bat. And then you have to realize the cartoonish excess That's kind of be part of the joke in the vein of like a 2 Chainz song. It's why he talks about the women trying to give him a blowjob while he's peeing. But when your bragging on the joke song is not so far removed from when I'm supposed to take you seriously, congratulations. You're now a parody of yourself. And this is horrible. Number 54, No Misery by Future.
One of them members from one of the only never needed validation. They watching, they copy me, did everything I did, now they gotta pay the same. Diamond record can't define me, $1 trillion niggas couldn't sign me. Shorty Valley even know me, she popping up on me while I'm fried. Outside of my body, trying to get a baby inside. Let's blame on me, what a shame on me.
So here's a real depressing note in talking about this Future album. At the distorted Andre 3000 intro implies here, his life doesn't sound that good or fun when your great appetites wind up getting sated, especially as you have a reputation as a womanizer and women will throw themselves at you in order to get pregnant, so you have to cut the child support check for them, and yet he still winds up fucking them anyway. I mean, there is pain there expressed in some form, certainly a miserable cycle. Now, at some point, you also have to stop giving Future any sympathy and tell him to put the goddamn condom on, but in small moments, the distorted paranoia and loneliness translates. In this case, by grabbing a note from Kanye West circa 2008 in 808s and Heartbreak, with some of the buzzy vocal filters and the louder percussion buildup. And maybe it's just some of my nostalgia for that sound, but when it translates to a decent hook, even if the song feels a little abbreviated, I think I'm going to stick up for it. Look, I know it's not the best here, but there's not a lot to work with. I really wish Hollywood or Alice had charted on just the difference of sound and pop novelty alone, or, actually having better hooks. And, I guess I might as well highlight the highest charting song that might have some staying power in that lane because it's got a hook. Finally, number 23, California Girls by Future.
No, you got that body, made me wanna sing. I can start a cult the way they follow me. So many bitches all around the world, like California girls. So many bitches all around the world, like California girls.
I remember as a teenager when I used to do karaoke with my family on Sunday nights. Yes, that's a thing that I grew up with in the 2000s. Kind of makes a lot of sense if you know me. A song that I got pretty good at singing was California Girls by the Beach Boys. It's one of their better known hits, but not exactly a great one. Brian Wilson's harmonies can only redeem Mike Love's sleazy eyes towards groupies all over the United States for so long, but I think it works for what it is. And somehow Future's usage of that song title centers all the sleaze, and I don't think he's better for it. Hell, he doesn't even sample the Beach Boys. That would have been kind of novel or cool, instead of this watery acoustics behind the chalky swell of the trap percussion, where the compression leaves the bass clipping the edges of the mix. As for the content, I mean, it's kind of odd. This album has attracted a lot of attention for some of its more flagrant lines. Here it's "Worshipping my cock, she won't get off her knees." But Future is crooning through this song as if he is convinced it's romantic. And that weird dissonance between his Motley Crue-esque worldwide sexual escapades and how he tries to then sell it, it's kind of jarring, I gotta say it. That said, I think it is more of a well-composed song. It's got a form to it. I get why it was the one that performed the best this week, and while I'm not gonna call it precisely good, I don't hate it either. I wouldn't mind if it sticks around, I guess. And yeah, that's the week. Best and worst are obvious. Kick's getting the bottom spot, while 2018 is a dishonorable mention. And the best is, if I could, it's getting the top spot with No Misery as the honorable mention. Again, I really wish Hollywood or Alice could have charted, if only for a little bit of competition for the best slots. Next week, I guess the fallout of all this and the desperate hope that the summer might recover. Stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.